This is Mr. Glaser, aka Matt Glaser, and a colleague here on campus, one of the cool guys, great teacher. I think that goes hand in hand. Have a classroom of students watching us, staring at us, and waving now. I thought something that kind of bridges definitely what we do day in, day out, part of our profession, our clients. Start just by talking a little bit about Gen Z.
Okay. There's a lot to say about Gen Z.
I know.
Where would you like to start?
I think the impression is Gen Z kind of is getting mixed up with millennials.
Mm-hmm. I even get them mixed up.
You're a millennial?
No, I even get them mixed up.
No, you're X.
I have an X. Yes, I'm X.
We can't go to that topic right now. But you're X, and so there's crossover, and I'm not technical with from which year to which year, but the place to start is, what's your impression of, again, we're generalizing, not so much stereotyping, but generalizing out of the hundreds, if not thousands of kids you've seen that really are a good example of what Gen Z kind of represents. What are maybe some adjectives that describe them, or how would you describe them?
Wow. And they're right here in front of me, too. Well, it can go either way. It can go different ways. They have so much technology these days, and so much technology used to make like a change in this world, to get their voice out and stuff like that. But some of them just kind of seem apathetic sometimes, and like just shrug off stuff like that. I want to use the word lazy, but that's like, well, yeah, they can be lazy. I mean, even standing for the pledge can be
Sure.
issue.
But is that, because I've definitely thought about that as well, and I don't think any one, quote, generation hasn't been lazy,
Yes.
especially as a teenager.
And every generation criticizes the next
the previous.
generation.
The same with my seniors. You should hear the things that they say about the juniors
Oh,
every single year. And I know the audience is juniors in this class. Oh, don't look like you're so hurt. Because when you get to my class as a senior, you will talk the worst smack possible about, oh my God, Sperling, like, I'm so sorry about the next class, the next group that's coming in, they're just terrible. You all just throw so much shade on the younger class, just like kind of our generations throw the shade on, oh my God, we're doomed.
yeah. You hear that from teachers too. Like, oh man, those sophomores come next year, and then you get them, and it's like they're cool.
Right.
They're just chill.
Although sophomores, it is its own kind of species.
Yeah, that's a little too young.
And then something happens over summer and they become pretty cool.
Yeah, must be that.
At least
summer
what I
vacation.
found.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. It's like a cycle that we see all the time throughout history. It's just like one bashing the other, and it's all the same. You know?
So technology, definitely an issue. They're bombarded with truths, multiple truths.
Yeah.
And that's hard. We had 3 news stations, right? ABC,
Yes.
CBS, NBC. That was it. 6 o'clock to 6:30. That was it. That was your source of news. That and a newspaper. And as a kid, maybe you didn't read often. I remember playing.
Yes.
And basically house rules were go play, and then when the lights come on the street, it's time to come home.
Right.
That was it.
Yeah. Like I'll go, when my daughter does figure skating, I'll just go walk around the neighborhoods and stuff, get a little exercise, and there's no kids outside.
Right.
I'm like, where are all the kids? Like, what are they doing? They're on their phones.
They're on their phones. It is a different form of socialization that clearly, like, I don't get.
Yeah.
It's like, but it's so much more fun to be outside, sunshine, running around,
Yeah,
goofing
it's better
around.
for you, it's healthy for you. And these, they cause issues and stuff, social media and mental health and all that stuff. They do need to be outside more, definitely.
I just heard, actually, on another podcast, since I've started one, my son was like, do you even watch them? I'm like, no. He's like, maybe you should start watching something. I'm like, all right, fair enough. So I've started watching a few, just snippets here and there. And this woman had a guest on, and the guest was, I don't know her background, her professional background, but it had to be in part psychology. And she was talking about how the brain, like they did scans of the brain, and people that had a connection, a spiritual connection, and immediately I thought like religious, but she conditioned it. She's like, it's spiritual in the sense that it is a peaceful, internal, reflective time, wherever that is. Be it, a walk on the beach, going, playing in the park, whatever or meditating or reading, just spiritual time is what she
Coloring a
called
book.
it.
Yeah,
Coloring,
it's great
absolutely.
meditation.
And it just kind of that quiet time. The scan on the brain showed that those who took time for that spiritual time, not a lot, 20, 30 minutes a day, or at least a few times during the week, that they had a healthy brain, like much healthier brain than those who didn't. They found all the kind of factors that lead to depression.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Right, and I just thought, wow, what a good reminder, what a great reminder,
It is a great
to
reminder.
to get out of the screen, get out of the house.
Yeah, it's
and
so tempting and addictive, and like you can't stop at a red light and not look over to your left and your right and see somebody on their phone that can't just wait 2 minutes for the light to change.
it's the downtime.
Yeah,
Where it is. We're more comfortable with quiet time, with downtime, and it's it's hard. It's an addiction.
yeah.
So definitely that's
So it's
one-
rewiring your brain.
It's
basically.
rewiring your brain.
Yes, and I see that a lot because looking into psychology topics and stuff like that. Since I teach psychology, it's like, yeah, I look at a lot of the brain scans from what you're talking about, or using psychedelics and stuff like that, and how it just, can just rewire your brain, and we don't even know. We really don't even know what it's doing,
Right.
right? So, I mean,
So would you say that they're pretty much the same as any other generation, but just with greater options, more options,
definitely have more options. Yeah.
and more kind of black holes, if we want to see, quote, technology, social media, whatever, as kind of that I've got on my TikTok for 10 minutes, 3 hours later, going down the rabbit hole of anything. The algorithms are so powerful. They're like, 0.3 seconds more on this kind of video. Boom.
I do it the same when I'm scrolling on my YouTube. That's the only social media I have, that and Call of Duty. But yeah, it's like just a distraction, or just do this. Let me do this so I can put that off till later.
So how does that, now coming back to, as teachers, right, where we need your attention for 10 minutes, for 5 minutes, give me 2 minutes. How has that evolved in your practice as a professional?
That's a good question. It's like a competition. You got to compete for their attention over their phones, and some kids will even tell you like, "Oh, it's a good thing I put my phone away. I know I'm addicted to it. I know it's a problem." And yeah, that's basically what it is. It's like you're competing. You have to. I just try to be an entertainer in a little bit, like, hey, you guys hear this joke? Or, I'll sing and dance just for your attention. So it's basically like, yeah, you kind of have to fight a little bit. But if we can put them away and stuff, then, you get your attention, and then you can go back and get that dopamine hit when class is over, or
Right.
a few more minutes later, So yeah, it's definitely a competitive thing, competing with the phone, I guess you would say. And it just makes me a little more animated. Like a lot of the students think I'm pretty extroverted.
Right.
But I'm pretty introverted.
Yeah.
I'd rather just be off to my own, quiet. Even when I go to my wife's parties and stuff, I'm usually just like, where's the pool table? Or can I just go? I'll go for a walk, because she's talking and I'm all by myself.
Is that, and the answer to this question for me is yes. But my question for you is that part of the appeal that you personally find with teaching? Is that it gives you a venue for that alter ego?
Yeah, you know, I didn't. Yes, I didn't realize it until much later, because I am a different person in the classroom. But yeah, it is kind of venue. And like when I would, I don't know, maybe do a performance for the theater department or something
Right.
like that. That is nerve-wracking. I'm so nervous, but I do it because it pushes me out of my comfort zone. Because I don't want to have those regrets. Like, I should have tried. You know, I just want to be part of the school, and you see kids in different atmospheres and stuff
Yeah.
like that. And so it's a lot of fun. But yeah, it's something that I do just because it's different and I haven't done it and it makes me uncomfortable. I think you need to be uncomfortable every once in a while, because otherwise you're just going to do the same old, mundane.
I mean, you're in my brain just voicing exactly my
Yeah.
experience as well. And I wonder if that's also just something that chalk it up to maturity, growing up, not approaching death, but just understanding more about the value of any one experience, and maybe not so much regret, but just, life is about those risks and getting out of that box. And I mean, just had a conversation about this in my previous class, YOLO, which the song kind of killed the concept, but the concept still remains true, right? It is fact. We are on this planet one shot.
One shot.
Right? It's, if you want to go Latin and fancy, carpe diem, right? But it's seize the moment, right? It's take advantage of opportunity, because those are the moments that we actually grow.
Yeah.
And I think that's the meaning of, part of the purpose of life is to grow, to evolve.
Yeah, I mean, when I was younger, I struggled in school. I was a horrible student until I got literally taken out of New Jersey and moved to Georgia. And, I didn't have any teachers that were like, Glaser, what's wrong, man? Are you okay? Let's get you back on track. Nobody cared. And when I moved to Georgia, I was like, oh, crap. I don't have any friends. I don't know anybody. I'm doing poor in school. I'm afraid to be homeless and a loser. I turned that DF into an AB student.
Wow.
And that was my motivation. I mean, something like that, it just clicked.
How old were you?
I was a sophomore in high school.
Wow, that's really young.
Yeah.
Actually, for that kind of epiphany.
Yeah.
Was there a specific event or catalyst that
It was just the move itself, being
Okay.
in that different environment, being a northerner going to the south and just missing all my friends and stuff. And it was that catalyst. It made a change for me. And at the time, it was the most horrific thing I could have gone through.
Sure.
But hindsight, it was the best thing that happened to me, because I'm here now. I mean, I probably would have went a different path. Who knows?
But even then, and that's why I asked, your age, because especially, again, back to sophomore year, there's great tumult in the brain at that point, in the body, right? And I talk about this a lot on the podcast, how everything comes down to choice. And a given day is just, it's a fork in the road after a fork in the road after a fork in the road, big and small. And for each moment of choice, we have two potential narratives: why I should go this way or why that way.
Yeah.
And based on, context, based on our mood, based on experience, whatever, we are more inclined to believe, that narrative over the other. Here you are, new kid, completely transplanted, floating, able to drift in any direction, but you chose, I'll do the AB.
Yeah.
Great. I'll get my act together. I'll embrace this path. That's why because that could have gone horribly wrong.
Could have. I mean, I think that helps my teaching too, because I've been there. I understand. You can make this change. You can figure it out. You can see the bigger picture. It just takes time. And some people don't have that kick in the butt right away. mean,
Yeah.
it takes a little bit.
And some people don't have that time.
That time, yeah. Like I try to tell my kids a lot, like, so we watch Good Will Hunting sometimes in psychology.
Great movie.
And Skylar asked Will to move to California with her.
Yeah.
And that's literally part of my life. I was dating my wife in Georgia. She finished her fellowship, and she's like, "What percentage of you? What's the percentage of you coming out to California with me?" I'm like, I don't know, 75.5%. She's like, "Good, because if you say anything less, I'd kick you out right now." But I had a really good job. I had tenure. I was teaching, and
You got Teacher of the Year?
I got Teacher of the Year.
Yeah, that's
And
huge.
I was like, I'm gonna go. I quit my job, went to California during the recession. Nobody's hiring teachers. I took a job at Michael's making like $7.16 or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Until I got into subbing, and then a private school hired me full time as a teacher. Then I had my daughter, stay home. That was great. And then I came here.
Wow.
So it's like you don't realize why things are happening, and it might be the worst thing, but it actually could be the best thing.
Do you think what you learned when you got transplanted into Georgia as a 10th grader, that kind of leaning into that experience and that somewhat, I mean, sounds like positive outcome enabled you to be open-minded when she said, are you down for this move?
Yeah, like
You
that
were like,
was.
yeah, I can do that again. I've been there, done that.
I've done that, yeah.
I'm
It's
good
part
with
of it, absolutely part of it. Because, yeah, I had that. When I moved to Georgia, I was like constantly going back to Jersey for the summers and staying with my grandparents and then going back to Georgia. And I went to college in Jersey, then I went back to college again in Georgia. So I've always been like kind of back and forth. But at the same time, I saw people in my family in Georgia too, and like, they just weren't happy, and they were very kind of afraid to take like a leap of faith. And I'm like, I don't want to be like that. I want to be stuck in this life here for the rest of my life, like my dad or my sister who's afraid to fly. I'm like, no, I can't do that.
That's Good Will Hunting.
Yeah,
right.
Exactly. Eventually, he takes the leap, and then he dies in a horrible car wreck in California. It's horrible.
Wait. Is that the ending that it needed to be?
I tell him all that.
Where do you think that open-mindedness comes from? Because it's
experience, definitely.
Yeah, right. It's part of it, but we've been through good and bad.
Yeah.
And yet we persist in, you know what? I'm down. Go to the other part of the country. Why not?
Right.
You know what is it about? Because my brain is very similar to yours, it sounds, in that I'll play that narrative over the other, because I see the other as the alternative, as that's the rat race, that's the routine, that's the box, that's not really living, that's just barely, it's just kind of existing. And again, like, where does that come from to become open-minded, to become curious, to become a bit fearless in those big forks in the road where, yeah, I'll go for it and it'll work out. I'll figure it out.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of times we will figure it out. You know, when you're struggling, that's what you need to have some of the time to struggle, to actually make to the next level, go to the next level. It's probably my mom, I guess. You know, she would always say, "Matthew, you never know until you try." And I tell my kids all the time, like, hey, that's how I got my first teaching job.
Yeah.
I didn't want to work in the town where my grandfather lived, but I applied anyway, and that was the only offer I got, and I got the job. And then my wife, I met her on eHarmony. Her profile, the doctor, she looked kind of serious. I don't know if she's, kind of fun or anything. I almost didn't reach out to her, but I did, and here I am today. So you never know until you try. Try not to have regrets.
Is that something you can teach? Like, you as a teacher, like you as a professional teacher, is that something you feel you can teach?
I mean, I can relate from my own experience. I don't know how to teach that unless you encourage.
Yeah.
It's just like saying, hey, I know this sucks right now. You're going through a hard time, but maybe there's something around the corner.
Mm-hmm.
Like I was divorced before, but if I didn't go through that, I wouldn't have met my wife now, and I wouldn't be here. So no matter how hard stuff is, it's like maybe there's a reason. Maybe you need to be here now because there's something else later.
Because there is always something else later.
Exactly. And it's hard to realize that too, especially when you're younger, that, it's not always going to be this way. You can make a change and good things come out of bad.
Yeah.
It's totally true.
I love it. I think that's a great place to finish up this episode.
All right, Mr. Sperling.
Dude, always, man.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Pleasure.
Thank you. Take care.